The shocking truth behind Joshua's prayer that made the sun stop at 3 a.m. forever. The night was dark, but not just any ordinary night. This was the night when the clock struck 3, and everything changed. Stars flickered, shadows twisted. People swore they felt a chill crawl up their spines like icy fingers. Joshua, an unassuming young man with a heart full of dreams and a mind swirling with doubts, knelt in his backyard. The air buzzed. It felt electric. And then, in a voice barely above a whisper, he prayed. But this was no simple plea. He called upon forces unknown, deeper than legends, older than time itself. It was rumored that this very prayer had echoes that reached beyond the universe. One could even hear the crickets pause, holding their breath in suspense. And suddenly, the world felt different, heavier. Glimmers of light pulsated around him, and the shadows morphed into forms, some lurking, some dancing, all watching with unblinking eyes. As he finished his prayer, the ground trembled. With a thunderous roar, the sun flickered like a faulty bulb, and then stopped. It hung in the sky, suspended, not shining the faintest light at all. Tension thickened the air. Neighbors woke from a deep sleep and rushed outside, voices trembling with shock. They couldn't believe their eyes. Gasps filled the night. Was Joshua a savior or a harbinger of doom? Whispers grew louder. Murmurs of ancient prophecies and cosmic consequences filled the dark. They pointed at Joshua, eyes wide with disbelief, trembling hands covering their mouths. "It's just a trick," someone shouted. But there was no trick in the vacant sky. The stars felt closer, as if they were eavesdropping on humanity's feverish thoughts. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Joshua's heart raced. Sweat trickled down his brow. What had he done? And as he looked up, the eyes of the crowd bore into him. He felt the weight of their hopes and fears crushing his chest. "Make it stop," they cried. "Bring back the sun." But could he? Was he even capable? The night felt alive with a pulsing energy, alive with questions that begged to be answered. And then, out of the eerie silence, a chilling scream shattered the stillness. Someone pointed to the sky where the sun once blazed. What waited there still in the darkness? What price would Joshua pay for an outcome he had never foreseen? The crowd gasped collectively, their breaths hitching. Under the dark blanket of night, the void where the sun used to shine seemed to deepen, swirling like a vortex of despair. Joshua felt the panic unfold around him. People stammered, their faces illuminated by nothing but fear. Faces he recognized. Neighbors whose smiles he had seen countless times were now twisted in horror. "What is happening?" A woman cried, her voice raw and trembling. She shielded her children, who clutched at her dress, eyes wide with confusion. Joshua wanted to answer, to assure them things would be all right, but words failed him. The air grew thick, oppressive, as if the very atmosphere was responding to the weight of their mounting dread. Fear squeezed at his throat. The stillness was not just deathly quiet. It was alive, pulsing with an energy that felt ancient, primal. He felt it emanating from him, a magnet of anxiety drawing everyone's fear toward him. Suddenly, a blinding flash split the darkness. A figure emerged from the shadows, clothed in a cloak that seemed to flow like liquid night. Its eyes glinted with a frightening knowledge, a promise and a threat in one piercing gaze. The crowd instinctively recoiled, stepping back and murmuring a prayer. Joshua, the figure, intoned, voice resonating with a chill that slithered into the very marrow of their bones. "You've echoed a cry to the universe. And now, the balance must be restored." A cold wave of realization washed over him. He had expected change, perhaps a miracle, but not this a cosmic game unleashed by a single desperate prayer. What do you mean? Joshua managed to ask, his voice quivering as he stepped forward, desperate to comprehend the implications of what lay in front of him. The sun isn't gone, merely paused. The figure S lips twisted into a knowing smirk. But you, Joshua, must make the choice. What is your heart's true desire? Light or darkness? Hope or despair? As if on cue, shadows around them began to shift and twist, morphing into shapes neither Joshua nor his neighbors could comprehend. Some were twisted in anguish, while others seemed to beckon him, enticing him with wicked whispers. He took a step back, overwhelmed. "Restore the sun," someone yelled from behind him, but he could barely hear above the ringing in his ears. This was more than a plea. It was a desperate demand for rescue, echoing through the stillness like a prayer of its own. Amidst the chaos, an idea crystallized, a thought he'd tossed aside too easily. Maybe if I pray again, I can fix this, he whispered, the resolve pushing through his fear. If he could harness that energy, perhaps he could turn things around. Be careful what you wish for, Joshua. Before he could question the figure, a bright light erupted from his hands, illuminating everything around him. The darkness shrank back as this new energy wove through the air, filling hearts with a flicker of hope. But then, another scream pierced through the night. The light flickered, sputtered, and strained as if it was fighting against some unseen force. Could he truly control this? Could he really bring back the sun? Or would darkness swallow him whole along with everyone he loved? As the air crackled with tension, Joshua faced the nexus of his choices. What would happen if he prayed once more? Just then, the shadows lunged closer, curling around him, drawing him in like a whirlwind. Joshua's heart pounded, the choice weighing heavy on him. As his surroundings distorted, he could feel his sense of reality slipping. The warmth of light or the cold touch of darkness. A choice was looming, and it demanded an answer. Would Joshua have the courage to confront the shadows waiting to claim him in the unknown? Or was he destined to make a decision that could change everything forever? The light pulsed in Joshua's hands, each flicker harnessing possibilities that sent tremors down his spine. Every flicker screamed for control, and with each second, the shadows danced closer, eager to engulf him in their dark embrace. "Joshua," the voice cut through the chaos like a knife. It was that of Mr. Thompson, a local carpenter, his crooked smile now twisted with fear. "You have to choose. It's not just about the sun, it's about all of us." A new wave of panic surged through Joshua. But what if I fail? His voice shook, rough with uncertainty. Behind him, the crowd swelled with anxiety, their eyes darting around as if each could sense the stakes. Vehicles sat idle on the street, their headlights dim against the overwhelming void. People whispered frantic prayers, some reciting passages from Scripture, others calling out for divine intervention. Yet none of it reached him. "Remember," the cloaked figure whispered, "balance must be restored at a cost." Dread clawed at Joshua. "What cost?" he whispered, barely able to take in the weight of the eldritch figure's warning. The shadows shifted again, morphing into figures of people he knew. His father, long gone but never forgotten, stood with a face of despondent agony. Joshua's heart seized. "Dad?" The moment hung heavy, suspended in time. Joshua's hands trembled. "What do you want from me?" he shouted, trying to drown out the deepening darkness pressing in on him. "Only what has been lost," the figure replied cryptically. "Your heart's true desire, and the sun is merely the beginning." A sly grin spread across the figure's face, sending ripples of dread through Joshua's body like icy fingers digging deeper into his soul. The energy spurred by his prayer felt fragile, about to break. The shadows began to converge, wrapping around his legs with cold tendrils that threatened to drag him into the abyss beneath them. "Joshua, restore the sun." Mr. Thompson's voice rang out again, full of desperation, urging him that he try to focus, to block out the pressure suffocating him. "Light! I want the light." Joshua jumped to his feet, throwing his hands outward. Let the light break through. But then silence. The light sputtered, faltered, and then with a deafening crack, it shattered like glass, dispersing into a brilliant array of sparks. The crowd gasped, breathless. Joshua choked on despair, feeling failure settle heavily in his stomach like a stone. The shadows twitched as though tempted to recoil, but then surged faster, almost hungry. Distracted by their deep pull, Joshua felt dizzy, detached. The sun was merely paused, the figure reminded him. But you could choose darkness forever. Images flashed in his mind. His own future, twisted and dark, his loved ones lost to despair, a world shrouded in a cold, permanent night. No, he gritted his teeth, anger igniting within him. I want to let this happen. The shadows hesitated. In that instant, determination washed over him. Joshua took a deep breath, tapping deeper into his spirit, focusing on the flicker of light's energy left in his hands, a fragile candle against an ocean of darkness. Bring back the sun. His voice trembled with newfound courage. Bring back hope. The darkness recoiled, giving way to a burst of warmth, a ray of golden light bursting forth. It flickered, then flared powerful and bright, a stark contrast to the chilling shadows lurking. But with this surge, the crowd gasped again, shocked by the light's intensity that rapidly expanded, swallowing up the darkness, for it was not only the sun he fought for. Joshua, the cloaked figure erupted, prowling closer, its voice rising in urgency. The choice has been made, but have you truly understood the implications? Joshua's heart raced wildly at the implications of victory now in his reach. But as he squinted against the glare of the light, he wondered, what sinister choice had he truly sealed with his declaration? While he fought to grasp the implications, he could feel the ground shift beneath him. The spectacle above sent shocks through the crowd. A second wave, darker and thicker than before, rolled in from the edges demanding answer. And just like that, Joshua realized, sometimes in the battle for hope, the true cost remains hidden in the shadows waiting to reveal itself. What deeper truth lay beneath his fierce desire to restore the sun? What darkness awaited him in the wake of his conviction? Joshua's heart hammered against his ribcage as the golden light surged like a tidal wave, pushing back the insatiable darkness. Desperation and determination intertwined in his chest, choking him with the weight of responsibility. But the sudden brilliance was not only a symbol of hope. It was a reckoning. The crowd stood frozen, their faces illuminated by the stark light flooding the night. Whispers swirled around him like leaves in a storm. What have you done? Someone gasped into the silence, the question hanging heavy in the air. The cloaked figure loomed closer, shadows spilling like ink from its hood. You've chosen, Joshua, it rasped, the tone carrying a mix of menace and foreboding. But the balance cannot merely be restored. It must be earned through sacrifice. The word echoed in Joshua's mind. Sacrifice. His pulse quickened. What do you mean? What are you asking of me? The figure remained shrouded, but a hand extended from beneath the cloak, beckoning him closer. As Joshua reluctantly stepped forward, an icy chill swept through the air, rattling his resolve. Your friends, your family, their futures, they too are in jeopardy. The light you unleashed has awakened forces you cannot begin to comprehend. Some are eager to strike a bargain. It whispered, an urgency wrapped around its words that sent shivers down Joshua's spine. What kind of bargain? Joshua's voice wavered, fear creeping back in. The warmth from the light felt less comforting now, as if it put him under a magnifying glass, revealing his raw imaginings and fears he had tried to keep buried. To resurrect hope, a shadow must fall. Someone must be lost, willingly, to uphold the sun you fight for. A knot hardened in Joshua's throat. The weight of those words sank in like lead. You're asking me to sacrifice not merely you. Those you love, the figure interrupted, voice dripping with an enticing sweetness that sent bile rising in his throat. Make a choice for one, and potential salvation will reveal itself. Do so without hesitation. Joshua scanned the faces of the crowd, one by one. Mr. Thompson, eyes wide, shaking his head in disbelief. His younger sister, Jenna, clinging to her mother with wide, terrified eyes. Friends who had stood by his side through thick and thin, now looking at him as if he held the entirety of their futures in his trembling hands. "No," he whispered, feeling their collective fear wash over him like a tidal wave. "This can't be what it comes down to. There has to be another way." The figure chuckled softly, the sound reverberating in the air, chilling him to the bone. "Ah, but the universe requires equilibrium. You've asked for light, but will you be the one to pay for it? Perhaps darkness is all you truly desire, and if so, it will come for you." The shadows writhed violently beneath him, stretching like clawed fingers inching toward the crowd. A scream tore itself from Joshua's throat as he thrust his hands out in a frantic gesture of protection, sending another pulse of light into the air. It flared again, but this time it quaked, flickering uncertainly like a candle in the wind. The shadows lurked, growing bolder again in the wake of his desperation. "Make your choice, Joshua." The figure seethed, voice now laced with thinly veiled hunger. "Or risk them all, every one of them, becoming part of the darkness." A smattering of chaos erupted in the crowd, people backing away, fear clawing at their minds as uncertainty thickened the air. Joshua felt his breath quicken, drowning in the weight of his choice. Could he bear the price? Finally, as doubt clouded his senses, another voice cut through the fear. Mr. Thompson raised his hand, fear yet fierce determination in his eyes. "We stand with you, Joshua. Whatever choice you must make, we are not your burden." Joshua clenched his fists, lightning twisting through his heart. His emotions swirled, but the figure's cold gaze bore through him. With every ounce of strength he had left, Joshua whispered, "I will not sacrifice anyone." And in that resolve, the ground beneath him shook violently, the shadows recoiling. Yet a soft, chilling giggle echoed through the air, filling him with dread. The cloaked figure leaned in closer, whispering a final taunt only he could hear. "Then darkness will choose for you what awaited him now." The cost of light glimmered hazily in his mind, unraveling his very grip on reality, and he trembled at what he must face next. Would the shadows betray him, or could he stand strong against the tidal forces threatening to drag him down? As darkness oozed closer, Joshua's resolve trembled. What truly awaited him in the merging shadows? The shadows began to thicken, curling around Joshua like a living fog. He could feel them, their cold tendrils grazing against his skin, urging him to fracture, to doubt. Panic prickled at the back of his neck. He glanced around, catching the despair that washed over his friends and family. That look of helplessness ignited a fire inside him, a fire that shattered the ice of his previous resolution. "What do you want?" he shouted into the darkness, his voice a tremor of defiance. "What will it take to save them?" The cloaked figure straightened, the shadows quivering as if responding to Joshua's challenge. "Your defiance is commendable, but futile. With each heartbeat, the darkness grows hungry. It demands an offering. You cannot delay the inevitable." An ominous energy pulsed through the crowd, a murmur spreading like wildfire. Jenna's terrified gaze locked onto his. "Please, Josh, don't do this. We can find another way." Her voice quivered, a haunting echo in Joshua's mind. But the figure interrupted, its gaze unwavering. "You think you can reason with fate? It is already set in motion. The darkness is drawn to your stubborn heart. Each moment you waste risks their lives." Joshua's heart raced. The walls were closing in, echoes of the crowd as panicked whispers blending into a chaotic symphony. But the resolve hardened in his chest. He wouldn't let fear dictate his choices. "I've lost too much already. You cannot take anyone." The laughter escalated from the figure, a cacophony that filled the clearing, slicing through his defiance. "Oh, sweet child of light, it's not about what I can take. It's about what you must give. The choice lies with you. Sacrifice one to protect many." One. The word hung heavy in the air, the weight of it almost tangible. Joshua's chest tightened as he recognized the tension swirling around them. The world flickered between light and dark as the shadows danced, taunting his resolve. And then, a voice emerged from deep within the crowd. "You want to take any of us, coward?" It was Mr. Thompson, his face set in grim determination. "Joshua, remember who you are. You have the strength to fight this thing." A surge of hope coursed through him. Joshua clutched the warmth of the golden light around him, channeling it into a wave of defiance. "You don't control me." Each word rang with newfound purpose, resonating with the hearts of those around him. "I'm not giving anyone up." The figure's expression darkened. The shadows began to pulse, swelling like a ravenous beast. "Then they will suffer. You will all pay the price for his intransigence." The very ground quaked beneath Joshua's feet. The air felt electric, charged with tension as the crowd braced themselves against the impending threat. Panic surged through the hearts of those around him. But Joshua felt something else, a quiet strength wrapped around him. Together, he whispered, and a flicker of courage ignited in the eyes of the onlookers. They were here, united in fear and resolve. They wouldn't allow the darkness to take anyone. And in that moment, the cloaked figure's shadow surged forth, lunging directly toward them. Joshua threw up his hands, a desperate act of protection. The golden light erupted anew, brighter than before, clashing with the encroaching darkness. But as he gazed into the glowing radiance, he felt it begin to dim, shriveling like an ember smothered too soon. The figure's laughter echoed against the walls of Joshua's heart. Another battle lost? Was this truly the end? Fear gripped him once more, threading itself around his thoughts. The murmurs from the crowd faded to silence as he fought against despair. Was it really possible for them all to escape the abyss? The shadows seemed to leer at him, waiting for his resolve to falter, just when Joshua felt his power slipping. That when an unexpected surge of warmth seeped through him. That spark ignited, pushing back harder against the growing darkness. A voice cut through the chaos, a voice that wasn't his own. "Joshua, you are not alone." In that heartbeat, an overwhelming surge filled the air, light exploding, outward, blanketing the crowd. But as fear transformed to hope, the ground trembled again. A warning echoed, sinister in its tone. What had he awakened? The dark voice whispered through him, sweet and poisonous. "The true reckoning is yet to come." Joshua's heart sank as the shadows twisted and reformed in the wake of his brilliant vision. Blinded for a split second, he realized the sacrifice wasn't over. What was lurking behind that last wave of light? As the figure vanished into the folds of darkness, Joshua understood one thing. He had only begun to scratch the surface. A greater darkness awaited. He stood on the threshold, trembling, yet resilient, aware that every heartbeat could be his last. But what was the truth that had yet to unveil itself? The chilling echo of unspent energy crackled in the silence, leaving Joshua to wonder the battle was far from over. What force awaited him next? The air buzzed with a charged silence, thick and heavy as Joshua steadied himself, heart racing. The golden light pulsed around him, but its brilliance flickered like a candle caught in a draft. He scanned the faces of his friends and family, eyes wide, breath shallow, tension curling around them like a noose. "Stay together," he shouted, trying to harness their collective strength. Each heartbeat thudded through them, an echoing reminder that time was slipping away. The ground trembled, not with the weight of an approaching storm, but with the sinister promise of a new kind of darkness. Silent shadows crept closer, not just hungry, but ravenous and insatiable appetite for despair. Joshua took a step forward, clenching his fist tighter. "Listen to me. We can't give in." His voice strained against the growing noise of the shadows, a rumble that felt more alive than ever, swirling with malicious intent. It pressed against his throat, choking him with doubt. Suddenly, Jenna stepped forward, a beacon of determination in those wide eyes. "I want to leave you, Josh. We face this together." Her courage sent a ripple through the crowd, igniting that flicker of hope in the darkness. But the menace looming above them chose this moment to strike, pulling the air heavy and dark, whispering secrets that made skin crawl. "Your defiance is amusing." The cloaked figure's voice slithered through the air. "You think Bond will save you? Hope can only obscure what is to come." Joshua felt that voice echo in his soul. It was true fear, shaking him to his core, but he shoved it aside. He wouldn't let this creature unravel him. Not now. Not with so much at stake. "Stop!" Joshua cried, bringing his hands down in a motion that seemed to silence even the shadows. "You're wrong. Love, friendship cannot be extinguished by darkness. The light doesn't belong to you." With that declaration, the golden radiance flared brighter in response, as if the very essence of hope wrapped around him tighter. Joshua felt it, a deep-rooted conviction that the shadows couldn't consume. The figure recoiled, momentarily taken aback. "You still don't understand," it hissed. "Choose the one who will bear the burden, or they all fall." Panic surged in Joshua's chest, and he turned to his friends. Their faces contorted between fear and determination, as if the knowledge of impending loss draped over them like an inescapable fog. He felt the weight of every gaze resting on him, an unbearable pressure, the decision looming like an executioner's blade. "No!" he shouted, thrashing against the overwhelming sense of doom. "I want to choose. I want to sacrifice my family." The shadows pulsed in anger, swirling like furious storms. The energy shifted, dark and electric, as they drew closer, seeking to wrap around each member of the crowd. Joshua instinctively stepped forward, bracing himself. And just as the darkness seemed ready to engulf them whole, a blinding flash erupted from the center of the crowd. An ancient silver amulet, borne by the oldest member present, glinted with a life of its own. "No more bargaining with darkness," Mrs. Hargrove declared, her voice clear and unwavering. Suddenly, the shadows froze, momentarily stunned, allowing Joshua the briefest flicker of hope. The light from the amulet surged forward, reaching the eclectic mass gathered in defiance, but it brought with it a hollow chill. What lay beneath its brilliance? But as the shimmering light spread, a bone-chilling scream erupted from the depths of the darkness, a sound that was both anguished and furious. Joshua's heart sank again. There was something within that scream, a promise of vengeance. What had they awakened? "Stay back," Joshua warned, sensing something deepening, something with teeth lurking beyond their sight. Eyes darting around, he felt the world shift beneath his feet, the shadows becoming a swirling vortex, tearing apart reality itself. Then, as quickly as it began, the vortex collapsed inward, darkness tightening like a noose. Joshua clenched his jaw, fighting against the knowledge that this battle was just a skirmish. The darkness only testing them. He could feel it. They had unleashed a force beyond their understanding. The cloaked figure reformed in the darkness, its laughter echoing with cruel mirth. "This is only the beginning, Joshua. We play the game on my terms now." As the shadows loomed closer, Joshua knew one thing. The battle was far from over, and the real nightmare was just awakening. What terrifying revelation awaited him as the darkness deepened? The darkness pulsed, a living entity wrapping around them, suffocating and cold. Joshua strained against the weight of dread as he desperately scanned the faces of his gathered family and friends. Jenna's eyes shone with fierce determination, but uncertainty flickered just beneath the surface. Mrs. Hargrove tightened her grip on the shimmering amulet, the only glimmer of light in this consuming void. "Get ready," Joshua shouted, forcing his voice to break through the oppressive silence. He could sense the shadows trying to manipulate their fears, creeping closer, eager to snuff out the last remnants of hope. He could feel his heartbeat in his ears, a drumbeat echoing in time with the rising turmoil. But something new shifted in the air, a presence stirring within the dark. It felt different. A whisper slithered through the minds of the gathered group, wrapping around them, dripping with malice. "Look around you," the cloaked figure hissed, its voice curling like smoke. You've drawn blood from the ancient pact. Well done, Joshua. What do you mean? Joshua shouted, desperation lacing his words. The shadows drew back a fraction. Joshua caught a glimpse of a memory flicker in the figure's eyes, eager shadows, clamoring for attention. You've awakened powers you cannot comprehend. You fear losing them, yet they are already lost to you. How brave you are to think you can hold on to hope. With a grinding sensation, reality shifted, pulling the crowd into a low, guttural hum. A glimmer of insight shot through Joshua, but the shadows tightened around him. He felt the truth thrusting against his mind, a dangerous weight. His breath hitched. Did they truly awaken something even darker with the amulet? Look, it's feeding, Jenna shouted, her voice fierce as she pointed to shadows lunging toward the amulet's light. Wisps of darkness slithered up toward the silver, attempting to taint its purity. No, Joshua yelled, stepping forward instinctively, feeling an urgent pull. It's not too late. We're stronger together. And just as he spoke, the shadows recoiled, shrieking in rage. It was a sound that cut like glass, piercing into Joshua's heart. The darkness shifted, reforming, growing larger and more malevolent. Even Jenna flinched, but still held fast. Then let us test that, the figure sneered, its voice brimming with deadly playfulness. I'll take one of you. Choose now. Anxiety erupted like fireworks in Joshua's chest. No one spoke. Only silence filled the air, thick and palpable as fear froze them. This was no ordinary confrontation. Every second felt like an eternity. Joshua locked eyes with Jenna. Fear laced its way through her gaze, but her lips curled into a determined smile. I trust you, Joshua. Whatever happens, don't stop fighting, she whispered, the words sending warmth through his chest, a beacon of hope against the encroaching shadows. The cloaked figure's smile twisted, teeth glinting within shadows. One choice, Joshua, or face the loss of everyone here. Panic surged through him. Every heartbeat felt like it echoed in a vast, empty void. They were dangling over a precipice, teetering toward an unspeakable fate. What could he say? Who could he give up to save the rest? Stop, he shouted as the darkness surged forward. I want to be your pawn. Choose me, take me instead. The shadows paused, hesitant, as if considering his offer. Joshua felt the power of his words creating ripples. This was a sacrificial twist. Would it save them or doom them all? The figure's laughter raked through the air, chilling Joshua to the bone. You think you can save them with such bravado? But the uncertainty flickering in its eyes told him otherwise. Then the air thickened with an ominous silence, as all eyes, wide and brimming with tension, turned to the cloaked figure. Whatever power lay behind its promise of dark choice was about to be unleashed as tension tangled around them. Joshua prepared for the inevitable. What would it take to break the grip of shadows? Would he sacrifice everything? Or would fate deal a more unexpected hand? What horrifying price would they all pay to escape this darkness? The figure's laughter faded, replaced by a suffocating weight that draped over the room like a shroud. Joshua's pulse quickened. The silence loomed, almost tangible, and every eye turned with equal parts hope and despair towards him. He felt the darkness edging in again, as if the shadows were drawing up their strength. They knew his fear. Choose, hissed the figure, its voice slithering into each nerve, manipulating anxiety, stoking the flames of panic. This choice wasn't just about sacrifice. It was about survival. Joshua, Jenna's voice trembled, but her gaze remained locked on him, urging him to fight, to hold on to the hope he had just ignited. Don't give in, Mrs. Hargrove shouted, her voice firm yet tinged with fear. You have the amulet. It's your only weapon against this darkness. But how? The shadows didn't just whisper, they screamed, clawing at his sanity. The deeper he delved into his thoughts, the more chaotic his heart raced. I can't do this, he whispered to himself. I can't. In that moment of doubt, the cloaked figure bared its fangs. Then you've already lost. It shrieked, a terrible rage ripping through the air. Shadows flickered like lightning, and without warning, tendrils shot forward, grasping at the edges of their bubble of light. They were searching for weakness, hunting for despair in the faces of Joshua's loved ones. "No!" he shouted, raising the amulet high. The silver shimmered, bathing their faces in its soft glow. "You can't have them. I won't let you take anyone." His own determination surprised him, fueled by the warmth of their trust. The shadows recoiled momentarily, as if they were exposed to a blinding light. But the figure merely cackled. "Cling to false hopes. They won't save you." It fanned its arms wide, and the darkness surged back, creating a swirling mass that began to envelop the group once more. "Is this it?" Joshua thought, the enormity of impending doom crashing down. "Do I let fear dictate who lives and dies?" Then he remembered. Echoes of stories from the past whispered in his mind. Tales of sacrifice, love, and resilience. Ancient legends that promised strength could be born from despair. He had to believe they were stronger than this darkness. Shaking off his fear, he yelled, "We are together. We are stronger than any shadow. We are not afraid." A chorus of voices joined his. Jenna's voice, bold and fierce, broke through the silence. "We will fight, whatever it takes." Others followed, eyes fierce with determination, a united front against the encroaching darkness. The cloaked figure faltered ever so slightly, confusion etched in its misty features. For the first time, Joshua detected something almost resembling fear in its essence. Without thinking, he stepped forward, pushing through the oppressive weight. "We choose hope." Bright light exploded from the amulet, swirling like a whirlwind, and the shadows shrank back, writhing in agony. Then Joshua felt a tremor beneath his feet. It was like the world itself was shifting, the very ground quaking at the clash of light and dark. The cloaked figure roared, a terrible sound ripping through the air. "You think you can forge a new path? You're merely delaying the inevitable." Around him, one of his friends fell to their knees, a gasping breath escaping their lips. "The darkness, it's hurting me." Panic gripped Joshua as he turned to see Jenna's determined smile falter. "Jenna!" A wave of dread crashed over him. He reached out, but the shadows moved faster, seizing her wrists with iron-like grips. The darkness began to pull her away, the tendrils fading from view, her expression morphing into fear. "Joshua, help me." "No." His heart dropped, an icy chill seeping through his very core. Would this be the price they had to pay to fight? As shadows whispered in her ear, Joshua felt the fight within him surge unprecedented. Could the amulet really stand against the malevolence surrounding them? They couldn't lose her. Not now. "Breathe," he shouted, forcing conviction into every word. "Remember our strength." His hands wavered over the amulet, desperately hoping its light could break the chains. But the dark presence escalated as if mocking his devotion. "Will you sacrifice her for a fleeting spark of hope?" The figure taunted, flickering in and out of focus. Joshua's mind raced. What could he do? The darkness seized a new depth as Jenna's eyes widened, flooded with fear. The crowd's murmurs surged like waves crashing on the shore. Desire for redemption mingled with stinging loss, pulling Joshua towards a critical decision. What would be the true cost of this battle? "Jenna!" he cried again, a desperate plea infused with love and strength. With fear clawing at him, he pressed the amulet tighter. And then, just as the shadows began to suffocate their light, a resounding crack shattered the night. What else could emerge from the depths of darkness? The crack echoed like thunder, slicing through the tension that choked the room. Shadows flickered and twisted, momentarily stunned by the sound, releasing their grip on Jenna just long enough for her to gasp for breath. But it was a fleeting moment. The figure recoiled, eyes narrowing with fury. "Foolish boy!" it screamed, the voice reverberating in a chaotic chorus of rage. "This is only the beginning. You think power lies in that trinket of yours?" Joshua's heart raced. The amulet pulsed against his palm, its warmth somehow comforting even in the midst of despair. "It's not just a trinket," he shouted, mustering every ounce of defiance. It's a reminder of who we are. As the shadows tried to regroup, a brilliant flash erupted from the amulet. Light poured out like a waterfall, illuminating every corner of the darkened space. Joshua felt the radiant energy surge through him, binding him to each of his friends. "Do you see? Together, we can push back the darkness," Joshua cried out, his voice ringing with newfound conviction. But the figure was relentless. It surged forward, a dark storm, shrieking incomprehensible words, summoning shadows heavier and denser than before. A thick fog rolled in, swallowing the light, turning the room into an oppressive void. Joshua could feel the despair crawling up his spine, ready to suffocate him. "Joshua!" Jenna's voice trembled as the shadows wrapped tightly around her again. "We can't let it win. Don't let fear take over," he shouted back, desperation coloring his tone. In that very moment, he remembered his dreams, those fleeting images of hope, love, and strength, all of them centralized around a bond they shared. With renewed focus, he gripped the amulet tightly. The shadows seemed to notice the shift in his resolve and surged forward, seeking to drown out his light completely. Panic surged in the room. Others began to falter, doubts creeping in like the shadows surrounding them. "Remember," Mrs. Hargrove shouted, her voice rising above the chaos. "You are not alone. Trust in one another." Joshua felt warmth flood his heart as everyone's voices mingled into a harmonious cry of unity. Together, they echoed, and the air crackled with electric energy. The amulet, resonating with their collective strength, shimmered brighter than ever. "This is for Jenna," Joshua bellowed, thrusting the amulet forward. He felt the power coursing through him, an unstoppable force fueled by love and unity. The shadows writhed, twisting in confusion, and for a moment they paused, caught off guard by the shared strength. "Fool! You cannot fathom the price." The cloaked figure howled, its form flickering wildly. "Watch us!" Joshua yelled, his voice sharper, more determined. "We will not cower. We will not be your sacrifice." The amulet blazed like 1,000 suns, casting an overwhelming shower of light across the room. Joshua took a step forward, emboldened, and the darkness shrieked, retreating in horror. Yet an unsettling thought flickered in the back of his mind. What if this wasn't enough? What if unleashing such power came with a cost he had yet to understand? Just then, a deep rumble echoed beneath his feet, and the ground trembled as though the world itself was at war. The cloaked figure began to disintegrate, but in its place, something new was emerging. A shadowy serpent formed, twisting and slithering with an otherworldly grace, eyes gleaming with malevolence. "No matter how bright your light may shine, I will always be here waiting." It hissed, the darkness coiling around Joshua and his friends, drawing closer and closer. Joshua's breath caught in his throat. The fight wasn't over, and what loomed before them was an entirely new threat. What had they truly unleashed? His heart pounded. The weight of the unseen battle pressed heavily upon them. Would they stand together once more, or had they stepped into a darkness even deeper than before? The shadows twisted in the air, undulating like smoke, whispering promises and threats that sent shivers down Joshua's spine. Jenna screamed, clutching her head as a wave of despair crashed over her. The others faltered, uncertainty flickering in their eyes. The serpent loomed larger, its eyes like pits of darkness, hungry and relentless. "Stay strong," Joshua shouted. He could feel the amulet pulsing in his hand, an anchor in the storm. "Remember our bond. We're more powerful together." The warmth from the amulet radiated through him, weaving hope amidst the chaos. As his words ached through the air, the surrounding energy began to shift. The crowd rallied, voices rising to meet Joshua's fervor. "Together, together," they chanted, grounding their fear into a united front. The shadows recoiled, but the serpent surged forward, teeth sharp, ready to bite. The deep breath surged through Joshua. "We will not yield," he declared, thrusting the amulet towards the serpent. A brilliant beam erupted from its surface, a dazzling array of light swirling around them like a barrier. The serpent writhed, furious at the intrusion of their hope, yet it hesitated, sensing the unity wrapped around them. Then a crack split the air, thunderous and echoing like a warning bell. The brightness from the amulet expanded, blinding the crowd momentarily. Joshua felt the energy surging to a breaking point, his heartbeat syncing with the pulse of the light. "Fight back! Don't let it take you!" he shouted, channeling every ounce of courage into the amulet's glow. The serpent hissed, bile-like shadows cascading from its mouth, trying to drown them in despair. But Jenna stepped forward, eyes ablaze with determination. "You want to take him from me. You want to take any of us." She raised her hands, mimicking Joshua's stance, and her voice threaded through the intertwining energy, growing stronger with each syllable. As if responding to her defiance, the serpent recoiled again, that a glint of hope flickered in Joshua's heart. "Let us do it. Now. Together," he cried, urging everyone to join in. The light was tangible, almost alive, an unstoppable force. Suddenly, with a pulse that felt like a thunderclap, the amulet unleashed a shockwave. White-hot energy exploded around them, cascading shock after shock through the air, sweeping away all shadows in its path. The crowd's voices rose to a crescendo, harmonizing with the brilliant light that erupted from the amulet. In that moment of unity, the darkness shattered. The serpent howled, a long, drawn-out scream of pure rage, dissolving into mere wisps of shadow. They stood together, hands linked, drawing strength from one another, completely shielded from despair. As the final remnants of darkness evaporated into the twilight, the remaining shadows dimmed, retreating into the corners of night. Joshua stood, breathless, as the golden light dimmed but did not extinguish. A gentle warmth replaced the frantic chaos, yet still lingered in the air the energy of hope. Jenna rushed to him, her face illuminated by relief. "You did it, Joshua. We did it." Laughter broke out amid tears of relief. The crowd closed in, embracing one another, grounding the energy around them like a safety net. Love and strength flowed between them, and as they celebrated their shared victory, the first rays of dawn broke through the remaining darkness, golden fingers caressing their faces. But even in this moment of triumph, a voice lingered in Joshua's mind, a whisper woven with shadows. "There will come a time." Joshua shivered slightly. A tension still lingered, a reminder of what they had faced and what could come again. He glanced at his friends, their faces a mixture of exhaustion and exhilaration. "What do we do now?" he asked softly. Mr. Thompson stepped forward, a proud smile on his face. "Now we stand together as a community. We prepare ourselves, for the darkness may return in any form, and we will be ready." Joshua nodded. He felt the flickering heartbeat of hope in his chest, knowing they would face whatever came next together. The bond they shared was an unbreakable light against even the thickest darkness, and that would be enough as the sun rose higher in the sky, illuminating their lives with warmth and possibility. Joshua felt a weight lifted from his heart. The shadows may test them again, but they'd had their taste of victory, solidifying a promise that together they could withstand anything as they embraced under the sun's glow. Joshua looked around at those he loved, neighbors, friends, family, all bonded in a shared triumph over darkness. He silently vowed to always protect that light, no matter what. This was a new beginning. Don't wait. Subscribe immediately to catch all exclusive stories and secrets that unravel in our adventures. You need to show your support. Now smash that like button to fuel our journey and keep us going. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories about Joshua's incredible journey. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to spread the light.